Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
The elections are around the corner, and the talking point right now is the economy. How do you think we've fared so far?
So far from when? 2015 or from 1960?
Since the Buhari administration, of course.
Since the Buhari administration, the economy has been particularly bad. That's not news, that's statistics. We went into a recession. We've come out of the recession, and we're now hoping for the growth phase, which is significantly delayed, let's put it that way. So, yes, the economy will be a talking point because it touches everybody's lives, and it's going to take us a while to recover. I was hoping we would have started a recovery process by now, but we really haven't. So, if you look at it in dollar terms, all our earnings have been at least halved since 2015, just based on the exchange rate. And so even though we're out of the recession, the individuals, the public, were still significantly impoverished compared to before. Okay,
we do have a scenario now that presidential candidates are coming out ahead of the elections to say that they are going to do something different. We have the PDP candidate, Atiku, saying that he's going to sell the NNPC and improve the fortunes of the corporation. What's your take on that?
There are two things the PDP candidate has said which give me great reason for concern. One is that he will sell the NNPC, and the second is that he will devalue the currency. The reason I have concerns around that is not that these things should not be done, it's the manner of speaking. He should, if he had said that the NNPC ought to be sold, because don't forget, the president does not have the power to sell the NNPC.
Yeah, but he could set in motion.
Yes, it has to be, the NNPC is set up by an act of parliament. So whatever he wants to do has to go through the Senate.
Yeah, but he's saying that he has the template.
Speaking authoritatively about what you would do that is not 100% in your control seems to imply you intend to subvert the process. It's just the optics I'm talking about. But regarding NNPC has been possibly the most public, inefficient entity I've ever come across in my life.
Some persons will disagree with you, while others will agree. He is still pushing further his arguments to say that he has a plan, still on oil matters now, to drop the price of oil. Obviously, petrol,
yes.
rather.
Yes.
Obviously, he's saying that she's going to, short of calling him ignorant, the conversation is quite heated. What's your take on that?
The price of petrol is not determined by a template. So when he said that template, I was a bit shocked. The price of petrol it's fairly transparent. You take crude oil, you take crude oil at a cost. Send it to a refinery that will refine it at a cost. And then transport it back here if we're importing at a cost. You add up all the costs, all the taxes, you get the price. It's pretty straightforward. If you are not going to apply any subsidies anywhere, give or take, you can calculate based on the international price. It's an internationally traded commodity. So it's not a template, unless your template involves subsidies, in which case you want to sell crude oil at a subsidy to somebody else to refine. So either way, a template does not change price. It's a market-driven price.
Does this in any way indicate that there's an inaccurate amount of knowledge in speech that is being put out there by...
I like the way you put it.
By political...
Because this is political season and I don't know what to say I'm for or against anybody, I'll just say that people have very unique perspectives that do not make sense to me.
Okay, let's move on to something else.
Yes.
The minimum wage is a burning issue at the moment. The Tripartite Committee submitted reports. NLC saying they want 30,000. Governors is saying, well, you're on your own. We don't have that kind of money. The back and forth is just worrisome. What is your take on NLC's position and then that of the Governors Forum?
There are 2 or 3 positions on this. And first, 18,000 minimum wage at 2015 exchange rates comes to about $120. 2018 minimum wage of 30,000 at 360 naira to $1 comes to $80 a minimum wage. So in essence, that's one school of thought. By increasing the minimum wage to 30,000, we've not yet equalized it for the purchasing power parity of 2015. So 30,000, in my opinion, is still unfair, is still too low.
They're saying
that's one school of thought.
Yeah.
Second school of thought is our budgeting is done in Naira. And so if you look at the impact, so we're asking for a 66% wage increase. And the assumption is that 66% will be applied across board. We don't know if that's the case, which means that the wage bill for the federal government and state governments will rise 66% for 2019. In terms of revenues, we can't afford it. That is correct. So for me, it's between the devil and the deep blue sea. But what I think a serious government will pursue is not an increase in minimum wage, but a reduction in the cost of living.
Now, whether you do there's an improvement in the cost of living and people still feel like they're not earning enough. It's over 5 years. There needs to be a review. So there should be a policy.
If you're earning 20,000 a month and you need 25,000 a month to survive, then you would want your wages to increase to 25,000. If your cost of living is reduced to 18,000, so what I think the government should concentrate on is finding ways to reduce the cost of living, to make life easier for people. And that's about the social safety nets we don't have. We do not have an effective or efficient public transportation system.
Well, you're going to a broader issue. The specific now is the argument over the 30,000 Naira minimum wage. Do you think that the arguments the governors are putting is something that the masses would want to listen to? Is it not possible for them to comfortably pay 30,000 Naira across board, considering the value exchange rates that you've just highlighted?
The two positions I've put across are the two positions we can work with for now, because we don't have the detailed numbers needed to come to a conclusion. So, for example, I would like to ask the governors, one, if the minimum wage is implemented, is it a 66% increase across board? We don't know that. Number two, what is the current wage bill for each state? I don't have that. It's probably there somewhere. I don't know. So therefore, I cannot tell you. And the impact per state will be different. Some states are purely civil service states, in which case the impact on them will be more than the impact on the Lagos state, for example. So and number two, cost of living in Lagos or Rivers or Abuja or Kano is not the same as cost of living in some other states. So where we set a minimum wage, you may find that some other states may not need to increase as much as other states. But what the government is doing, this is a national minimum wage. Every other state can set above it, but not below. But seeing most of these states were owing salaries when things were tough for 12, 18 months.
Some year, I mean, 2 years.
So asking them to increase, it's our states are not really, at least not more than 7 states. Okay, on a final can afford
note,
this.
Yeah, before you go, I'd like to pick your brain on the issue of federal allocation. States are saying that they have to, they don't, except the federal government increases their federal allocation, they might not be able to. What's the mentality with this federal allocation? What's your thought on it?
I have to speak slowly so I don't say the wrong things. I think that if I were a state governor, my concentration will be on increasing the revenues my states can generate, as opposed to concentrating on the federal government increasing what they give me. Now, it's not as straightforward as that. Quite all right, I understand. But what you should be doing as a governor is concentrating on the things you have control over.
All right, I think we'll have to just pause here. Yes. There's so much to talk about. Hopefully, next time you join us for this conversation. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much.